Hello and welcome to Grand Canyon University's Canyon Professional Development's Wednesday webinar. We're here monthly talking about tips and tricks to make you more powerful in the classroom. So excited today to host a very unique STEM perspective, and that's giving STEM a sporting chance with our special guest, Jeff Golner. Jeff has so much experience in STEM, business, sports, and that concept of bringing athletics and STEM together is ingenious, because I think a lot of our students engage in athletics and don't see a connection with science, technology, engineering, and math. So today we're going to take the academic rigor up a notch or two, but through the guise of STEM and sports. So Jeff has got so much experience. He's the STEM Sports president and CEO, as well as owning an agency G, a marketing and event production agency. We're going to get to know more about what Jeff does, but before we get going too far into it, Jeff, you chose a quote for us today to set the stage for our learning, and I'd love to know, just read that for us and tell us why it inspired you today.
Yeah, actually, I was engaged with somebody on email, and this is their e-signature, and I was like, oh my God, what a great fit, that our former president said. Physical fitness is not only one of the most important keys to a healthy body, it is the basis of dynamic and creative intellectual activity. It really resonates with us because as playful as the curriculum that we project is in STEM sports, we're a STEM education company first and foremost, and so there is a quality rigor to the academics that we offer. And so this really resonates with us.
Well, Jeff, welcome. I so appreciate you being here today and sharing this very important idea of let's do what already works. Kids love to be active, even if they think they don't with the video game. So I know we're going to get some, I have some questions about that. But I definitely want to see how you are going to take us through why STEM sports is so successful in schools, and what we can do today in our classroom to get that physical fitness back into our classrooms. I'm telling you, after the pandemic, I'm sure we've seen so much just rise in obesity and even type 2 diabetes in students. I mean, this is just unheard of. Yep. So tell us, what are your 3 tips and tools for us to get started with STEM sports?
Well, yeah, I mean, most importantly, I think ease is really one of the things we really think about, because we know how taxed and trying the education system is, and teachers, right, the ones that are on the front lines, are asked to do a lot, and they're not really compensated. But it's not so much the compensation, it's just the support around what they're trying to do. So when often they're asked, hey, do this, now they have lift, and they're responsible for more of their time and their power, and we want to make that easy. And I emphasize the ease with even E''S, and we'll get to talk about that a little bit as we get more, as we reveal more in the curriculum.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, everybody wants ease, so I love it.
Right, don't we all? I mean, we like to say we don't want to cut corners. We just want to be more efficient and make sure that what we're doing, there's that ease. I'll say that night and day. Assessments, tip number 2 is, well, of course, if we're going to tell teachers and the education system to do this, well, they have to make sure that they can say it was effective, right? And so there's assessments that are built in, and I'll be able to share some data right here from a study we did here in Phoenix, where we're based, that really did show that there is efficacy in what we're doing, and it's working, and we have some data behind that and some proof. And then jobs. Okay, so we run into this quite a bit. I mentioned this before. We are a STEM education company first and foremost. And so what does that mean? It has to mean that you're showing the workforce possibilities, careers, and jobs that are available when you have STEM skills embedded in you. So a youngster, and some people think we're crazy that we can actually influence a 3rd grade student about potential job or career path, but it's very possible, certainly as they're moving through 3 to 8, grade 8, and certainly on to 9 to 12, we can actually have an influence, and they might actually identify an area that they'd like to work in as a career And how special is that when you know that? And it really makes your education more meaningful. And then you can pick up an internship at some point, and really you're building your resume, little do you know, so that when you're actually applying for that job and that career, it's because you saw the job possibility earlier. And so, and I'll tell you what,
I have to say, Jeff, that if we don't get students at grade 8 in STEM, we're unlikely to get them, because in 9 through 12, they've got to continue with that math and science. And so if you've hooked them into the STEM through athletics, they're going to be more willing to say, oh yeah, in order to get that job, I have to continue with my math to get into that placement that I want to be in STEM. So they want to engineer a baseball stadium or something like that. That's where I think you're going with this. I don't know
absolutely.
totally yet, but
Oh, yeah.
love it.
Yep.
Love it. And then you have tools for us too today.
Yeah, y'all asked me to have a tool, and I actually pluralized that because we're going to have several resources that are available. Things that if you're a teacher in the classroom today, you could do tomorrow. I mean, it's that instantaneous based on that ease of implementation. So let's talk about that. So I want to talk about objectives and key results, OKRs, and Corey, we talked about this before. Some of you might have heard KPIs. So OKRs is something we actually profess and actually work on a monthly basis to make sure we're meeting our own objectives to get those key results. All of us, all of my staff has their own set of OKRs. I'm president, CEO, also known as the owner, but I still have OKRs too that I have to meet and report how I'm doing. So we thought, why not use that here so we can kind of show you kind of what our OKRs and what they might mean to a teacher offering.
Well, because teachers have OKRs too in their classroom, right? I mean, we're not foreign to the word objective, learning objective, and key results. And ultimately that's about, what are the students learning? So if you can help me help my students with their own objectives and key results, I'm all ears. So go ahead.
Absolutely. And we also know that means test results. We know that's kind of like a bottom line where it has to meet that. And we're getting there with our curriculum. So we mentioned this before about ease. Teachers need more for less. Listen, we know what's going on inside the classroom. We knew what was going on inside the classroom pre-pandemic, challenges that were being met there, underpaid, overworked, asking for them to even spend their own money on outfitting their classrooms. So what I can tell you is that we are making this easy to implement with the right rigor for the students. It's not just because it's easy to implement doesn't mean it has to be easy for the students. No, we're going to challenge them. There's going to be cognition. We call it the cognition ignition. We're actually going to be opening up kids' minds to things they haven't really thought about before. Like, for an example, I hope you all can see this. Oh, it's going to be hard to see. This is a baseball. Okay, that's a baseball. It's a baseball cut in half. So we're making this experience so that kids can actually go,
perfect.
Oh, I mean, I knew when I was a kid, a few of us tore up a baseball just because we were just so curious. But we also didn't think about it from the standpoint of it's materials, it's science, it's engineering. Yeah. And oh, by the way, yeah, a machine was involved in building that, but not without a human. That's a job. So as much as you like the game of baseball, maybe it doesn't work out that you're not on the diamond playing professionally at Chase Field, but you could still be working in that sport that you love because you might be involved with the manufacturing of baseballs. That's an idea there.
What a great visual. Thank you. And it engages students, as you say in your point number 2 here.
Yeah, which, by the way, I'll do a really good job of probably jumping around all these OKRs. Just how I operate. So sorry about that. Good. No training or PD required. Again, teachers need more for less. And so if you're asking them to lift, you got to make it easy. And what does that mean? And we're going to take a look at kind of the interior, if you will, of this curricula. We wrote to the 5E lesson sequence. Hopefully I'm speaking to some of you on that. But for the majority of you, you may not know that. That starts off with engage. Get the kids in the mind space, the letter E, engage, to start the process. Yep, we're kind of cheating ahead. So that you can see, and actually it's almost, I mean, in the layman terms, it's almost like a script that you take the kids down this path. But they're also exploring, and they're going to be literally physically working on some of these some of the curricula that we're actually projecting. So that's really very important.
Fantastic.
And what does that mean? I think most of the teachers probably listening, that's 21st century methodology. This is that learning structure is hopefully something that you're all well engaged in. Oh, and by the way, we took license, and we actually, our program is 6E. We added the term extend at the end to really extend it. Layman term, extra credit. It might be taking some math and converting from inches to meters, or just some sort of conversion just to make it even more in-depth and more robust in that experience. But again, all of that is in that 5E/6E script for all of you to use.
Okay. So beyond the 5Es, I see that, I love what you're saying. Sports are universal. Everybody loves sports, whether they watch them or they play. There's individual sports, there are team sports. I mean, I know, for example, my kid, he was a tennis guy more than he was a soccer player, because I mean, he once scored a goal for the other team and he never went back. He was like, I'm never doing that again, Mom.
Oh, the own goal.
Awful, right? The own goal. But it happens all the time. And I mean, I'm teaching him teamwork and collaboration. Then he ended up becoming a musician. He's on the field. He's a part of the sporting event, but in a different way. So I just think that this universal category of STEM and sports is really exciting.
It's pretty wide.
And it engages students. I agree with you. Go ahead and give us like kind of where we're going, and then we'll move into it.
Yeah, I mean, so, taking that note of sports are universal. So a couple of things. One, we appeal very much to the student that is the athlete, right? Because they see us and they go, oh, I love this. This is sports. Now, it's very possible, though, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, but I'm really bad at math. I don't know if I'm going to be good at this. We've been told, and I know it's happening, that we've unlocked numeracy issues for some of those younger students because they finally saw the math related to the sports, which they know and love, and something finally clicked. Right. So it might be us taking them through one of our basketball lessons where it's called shot tracking, where they're going to actually leave the classroom and they're going to figure out their own field goal percentage, just like LeBron James has, just like Devin Booker has. And by the end of that lesson, and through the worksheet aspect of what they're going to do, they're going to have their own field goal percentage, just like the NBA players. So what does that mean? Well, the next time they engage with the sport, whether they're playing it or viewing it on TV, watching a Suns game or the Final Four this weekend, they're going to identify and that experience makes it all the more sticky for them to remember the education that they received in that aspect.
So why do I have to learn this part, right?
And that's really where, when we have that insertion of jobs, a really simple list, teachers have, oh my God, they've thanked us. So thank you for having that, because it does take that hand out of the air, where the students realize, this is why I have to learn this, so I can understand how I can be a sports statistical analyst, right? There's all this type of stats. People sitting on the sidelines recording what's happening in the game are being paid to do that as their job. To a quarterback coach who's helping the quarterback, figure out the best methodology in play calling and where to actually throw the ball to or when not to. All kinds of these things go into that, in a lot of that data.
And this reminds me of the guy on the Olympics. Like when you watch the Olympics, there's this statistician on the Olympics, and he's like the math guy, and he comes out all, with his bow tie and whatever else, which, by the way, being a nerd is totally cool these days. Like robotics competitions, it's a complete athletic / nerdish style event, but I speak to that very lovingly because that's who I was when I was a kid. And I want to say that guy is so fun to watch because he's just doing stats on, okay, so if this Olympic athlete gets this many gold medals, then the US would be, this far ahead in the gold medal count. And it's just fun to look at to absorb the math about it, which is totally different, but yet he had to have a sports background to be able to do that.
Yeah. And so, like, now that the baseball season's starting tomorrow, MLB season, wait till you hear all this new stat work that's going to be coming out of it because some of the rule changes. But if you listen to it and with that eye, there are a lot of people behind the scenes procuring and gathering that information ad nauseum. I mean, so now, and really they're talking about baseball being a whole categorically, it's going to be a whole new set of data because there's all these new parameters that they've implemented. Yeah.
And a big plug for like the Arizona Diamondbacks, because way back, when I was teaching in 2003, the Arizona Diamondbacks baseball team was saying, well, how do we get STEM in baseball? So I was a part of a couple of grants that they offered schools. So I imagine they're still out there doing the wonderful work that they were doing before. But I really appreciate that you're blending these skill sets, right? Statisticians, mathematics. You've got your product development scientist. I mean, who knew that you got to do that in a sporting venture? I can't imagine the amount of money in the NFL that is dedicated to product development or athletic quality control
and making sure the football is properly inflated.
Wow. So then I see that you've got a nice visual there in that as well. I know we're skipping around a bit. I know we're here with jobs of sports optics. So that's what you mean by sports optics. Tell us about the Sporting Chance.
Yeah, Sporting Chance. And so as I was kind of relaying earlier about how the athlete, but maybe at the 5th grade level, sees STEM sports and says, "Ooh, I got this." Now, what does that mean about the kid that maybe doesn't play a lot, the boy or girl that's not super active? No problem. And they actually may go STEM, I got this, but then they go sports. Ooh.
Yeah.
One thing for sure, not everyone has to be athletic to do what we do. We're not playing a set of volleyball. We're not playing 5-on-5 basketball. We're playing an aspect of the sport and we're mining it. And by the way, everything's collaborative in nature. So these aren't individual students aren't doing our curriculum. No, they're working together in groups of 4 or 5 to examine and actually perform what's being offered to them in that curriculum. So for an example, and I'm sure you all know about the SciTech Institute here in Arizona, and it's actually populating in other, or I should say there's their program called the CSO program, the Chief Science Officers. So we ran a program with them and we asked them, we want you to be candid with us. We want to know what you think about STEM sports. And I think I can universally say their involvement, if at all, with sports was through and video games. And when they looked at us, and we actually had them go through measuring throw-ins. That's quite coincidentally in soccer. And when they all went through, I interviewed them all. What do you think? What do you think? And honestly, the summation was, thank you. You made sports cool for me, because we showed them the science behind it.
Awesome.
So it's really an equitable, meets all those different types of kids, and equitable also in that the hands-on nature of learning, everyone can learn that way. Not everyone can learn in me talking to them ad nauseum for an hour or having them read what the lesson's all about. No, if they can do it hands-on, everyone can learn that way. Don't get me wrong, there are some kids who can learn through lecture and learn through quote unquote textbook, but not all of them can. So we have a very equitable way that meets the athlete, that meets the science, the kid that's very interested in science, and makes that very, very equitable.
So if I click on this link here, does this take me to this equitable kind of area where, any kid can learn? And this looks like the curriculum for the teacher.
It's the curriculum for the teacher that you would be able to take your 3rd through 8th grade students through. And for an example, in this lesson, when you ask a kid, "Hey, you need to stretch before you play," "Why? I don't want to." It's a hassle. But if you can kind of explain it to them that it prevents injuries and here's why, and here's the science behind stretching, you might get some more take into that, and they're going to understand about muscle fibers and ligaments and tendons and why you have to be able to do that. So this is one of our outlier lessons that it fits into every sport that we do.
Oh my gosh, it fits into what I need to do every day. I'm getting older and stretching is very important. So thank you, Jeff, for giving up for this free tip right here.
Yeah, so we might need a lesson called Stretching Before You Stretch, but yeah, I mean, there's something there.
I love it.
The other thing too, as we were talking about the Sporting Chance, is students absolutely view us as play. So about 75% of the time in this curricula, in any of this curricula, you're leaving the classroom and you're literally going on the field or court of play to execute what's being called for in the curriculum. So when you say, I was mentioning that shot tracking lesson before, which winds up resulting in division. It's really a math lesson. If you're a teacher listening to this, never say the dreaded D word when projecting this lesson. Don't say division. You don't have to.
They don't want.
They're going to be doing it and they really won't know it. So it's kind of a disguised and stealth manner, because after they shoot those baskets and they take their chart with their fellow classmate who mark their makes and misses, you serve them with another worksheet where they're going to work on their fractions and their percentages. And it's all called division, but they don't have to know it that way.
I love it. In fact, that's the best way to let them know that, for example, you've got something here that looks like a chart or a graph, which students, by the way, are needing so much to be able to interpret results on a chart or a graph from a spreadsheet. And so if they can interpret their own results or the results of their friend who they're competing against, throw-ins or, what did you say you were just doing? Like, what were they measuring? There was a throw-in, and then there was also you said
measuring throw-ins. In that case, they throw from 2 solid feet, they throw from a step forward, and they throw from their knees. But they're also trying to understand the science, not about how far they can throw, but their accuracy. And actually, when we did that program, and we've done it several other times, but I distinctly remember when the chief science officers did it, their answer was, I was more accurate throwing from my knees. Well, kind of makes sense if you really start to think about the gravity and their base and the science behind what they were doing. They had a better foundation to put the ball where they wanted it.
And what's great is I don't have to be a science teacher. I don't have to be a physics teacher to teach it. You already have it for me so that it's easy, as you had said in the very beginning. Now, I'll go back over here. You talked about it's considered play. So the kids go out and they actually play, which is awesome. And you say, don't say the dreaded division word. Just let them know they're going to be, looking at their results in this particular way. But I love how you say academics are stealth. So I'm going to skip forward to your tools slide, because I know you're giving us a bunch of tools today, but tell us why academics in this case, how do you make academics stealthy in this way?
We kind of went through some of those examples. So let's just take another one just for sake of adding another quotient. So another soccer lesson is it's shooting on goal. So it's actually penalty kick probability. And also, and so at first they probably, and there's actually even a geometry lesson in there also, because when you have to shoot a goal, there's somebody in front of you called the goalkeeper, right? So they're going to go through this whole process of shooting on goal, again, that play aspect, and they're going to wind up doing the math around, their success rate and maybe figure out, what's a better angle. So, I mean, in a way, it's disguising a couple of the elements, the geometry aspect for sure, which we take as math, and then certainly when they figure out the math, there's even.
If I was to have like the arc of the ball, because I can't imagine those pro soccer players who understand how to arc the ball specifically to get around the goalie. It's just fascinating. And I can imagine like all of those different angles, being able to measure those and having that the geometry lesson. I'm already so excited about this. The curriculum is awesome. I've seen it. I think it's amazing, but I don't think that teachers understand how easy it is. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I also see that you've got download a free STEM sports sample now. So, and I can pick one sport. What's your, I'm thinking your most popular sport is football, but I might be wrong.
Probably basketball winds up ranking up there. The multi-sport, I actually put that up there. Schools are buying the multi-sport at a higher frequency than anything else. And then they're coming back and buying specific sports after the kids experienced, maybe they had a great time with basketball, the football, soccer, or volleyball, and they come back for repeated use. So, it's really whatever. There's 2 ways to go about it. Hit the kids where they're at. Oh my God, they're great basketball fans. They love soccer, or they love basketball. Or, you know what? My kids haven't really experienced the great game of soccer yet. This would be a great way to introduce the game of soccer. So we do sometimes, schools are funded with a grant and they're kind of scratching their head going, well, what should we do? And we try to tell them, use the yin and the yang, introduce a sport that you haven't played with yet.
I love that. I love that. And I see here, you've also given us so many tools. So not only do we have the 5E instructional model, with the Extend, which is the extra that STEM Sports offers. So I appreciate that. Teachers, you also have STEM jobs in sports. This to me is so great.
Right.
Just using this tomorrow in my classroom, I completely would do this because
Yep.
I would talk about, okay, where do you need math? Okay, right here, if you were going to be an Olympic softball team dietitian, there's math inside of there. So as a math teacher, that would be so interesting to me. And even as a nutrition teacher, right? And then you've also, thank you for the stretching. I need it. And I know that this is something that's universal for every sport. So we just appreciate and you can do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
And you can do
easy
it right
download. You're
now.
ready to go. Or share it with your PE
Especially
teachers.
especially all of the, like, take a deep breath, be more aware, mindfulness, social emotional learning. This is beautiful. So thank you for giving us a tool just for those pieces. But folks, I know that once you get into some of these tools, you're going to want to reach out to Jeff and his team at STEM Sports. So Jeff, how do we communicate with you? How do teachers sign up for, because I see this bonus and most important link. I'm going to
what this is.
hold on to this for a minute. So tell us about this.
Can you imagine taking elementary and, certainly elementary, but certainly middle school, junior high school students through this process alone? It's like this giant assessment, and it filters down to tell that student, you know what, you would probably like to do X. So if you actually go down to the bottom of the page, you'll see how they're going to do that, and then keep going further. It's going to tell them, go actually just one more page up.
One more page up. Got it.
Right there. So right there, it's going to boil it down and say, here's the areas that you seem to have an interest in. I mean, I would have loved to have this assessment done for myself in 5th grade. Unfortunately, I decided to get into sports and as my career about 3 months before I graduated college. If I had something like this, or I guess I have to plug myself, if I had STEM sports as a junior high or even an elementary school student, and it projected me into the career that I wound up having, my education, which was good, and I wasn't the best of students, but if I knew where I was headed, I think my education would have been more meaningful, and I probably would have performed better. Well,
and I love this because none of these areas are like professional basketball player, and that's what we might want to be. However, if that doesn't happen, sports pushes us into these directions as well. So thank you so much for this ultimate, tool for us. You've given us so many freebies. We so appreciate it. Folks, I know you're going to take away so much more with STEM Sports. And so Jeff, we just want to know how we can get in touch with you. And what I'll do is we'll put that information into our show notes. Folks, you're going to have all of these links in the show notes. I hope you were able to take something away today. I know I did. Jeff Golner, thank you so much for your vision of blending STEM and sports and allowing us nerds, I'm talking about myself, feel like I have a role in sports as much as the other way around. So don't forget to connect with us on social, folks. We are there to shout out what Jeff shouts out as well, to make sure that you as a teacher, as an educator, have exactly what you need to become even more powerful and more purposeful in the classroom. Don't forget that our why is to empower, educate, and inspire our community so they take action to fulfill their purpose and serve others. We appreciate that you were with us today. Subscribe now for more free PD. Jeff, if you have one parting word, we'd love to know what it is. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If I had one piece of advice as far as blending STEM and sports, what would it be? Well, I guess, it's kind of a quotient around here in our office. I think we make STEM learning fun. STEM learning fun. I'll take a whole sentence. I love that. Thank you so much. Until next time, Jeff, thanks for being with us today on our Wednesday webinar. Take care, folks. We'll see you next month.